Imamo sad ovako Petricije, ali pravi Petric, ne ovaj Petric je rekao da je ovo sad najbitnije, odnosno najbolje keynote predavanje. Naziv je Top 5 tech trendova za budućnost 5 zvjezdica. Ona dolazi iz Amerike, podrijetlom je iz Francuske. Ona je podcasterica, molim vas jedan aplauz za Myriam Joire!
Hello, everybody. Is this mic working? Hi. Bach, right? So, you know, I've got something I think that's pretty exciting to chat with you about today. I think it's, you're going to like it. It's about the 5 tech trends for a better future, for a 5-star future. And more importantly, I've kind of tacked on some more to that. I'm also going to talk about 5 products that I think are going to be, you know, trends. So, you saw I just flipped slides here. Let's see. Okay, the remote is working. So I wanted to start with a bit of background. You know, where is my flying car? It's 2018, okay? So the reason I'm bringing that up is, you know, I was born in the late 60s, so that makes me old. You know, I was a child of the 70s and the 80s. I got to see computers evolve from just basic things to what they are today. 50 years of innovation. It is crazy. So, you know, my question is, why don't I have flying cars yet? But at the same time, I have to remember all those 50 years of innovations that happened. You know, we got to see things like the computer from Star Trek that you can talk to. It exists, you know. I'm going to trigger everybody's phones in the audience here by saying, hey, Google, right? And same with Alexa and Siri and Cortana. These things exist. Now, you know, they're not great, but they exist. That's like science fiction coming to life. The other thing that's like that is tablets, right? Your iPad, you know, whatever it is, your device in your pocket. These things are straight out of Star Wars or Star Trek, you know, and we have them today. So I might complaining that we don't have flying cars, but the reality is we did get some really cool stuff. You know, we have smart drones, we're going to Mars. This is big stuff. So, here are the 5 tech trends, and I'm going to go through them each one by one. And you'll see, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. The first one, a little head bow down to our good friend HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. If you don't know what this means, we're all doomed, right? So, the reality is we do have something that's kind of intelligent. I hesitate using the word intelligent because it's not that good yet, but we do have assistants that are getting smarter and better all the time because we're able to give them data about us and they can figure out how to help us, and that's really important. The other thing that this enables is a touchless UI. Your grandma, your cousin, your baby, anybody can now talk to the computer and the computer can talk back. You don't need to learn anything. It's instantaneous. It's like talking to a human. And this is a big, big deal. Like, I think it's going to change fundamentally how we work with technology. And so I think it's a huge trend. Related to that, machine learning is part of this AI trend. And what that means is our machines are able to look at patterns much better than we are and execute on these. Examples of technology that you can buy today that use machine learning. Tesla's autopilot. You know, their cars are constantly sending more data to the cloud. Every car that drives gives more information to the database. This is really significant. Google Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL. These phones have incredible cameras because of AI. Because the AI is learning how a good picture looks like. And it's adapting the settings. It's not the hardware on the Pixel that makes the camera good. It's actually the AI and the software. And then the other example is Dji Drones. They fly themselves nowadays. You just throw them in the air, and they just stay there, and you can fly them around. This is amazing. You know, in the early days, you had to be an expert to fly a drone. So, these are some of the trends in AI. Now, the next big game changer is going to be 5G. And you know, it's a lot of buzzword about 5G. So let's just define 5G really quickly. 5G is about gigabit connectivity, wireless, right? It's about ubiquitous connectivity. It's about power efficiency. And finally, low latency. Now, you know, LTE is pretty good. We can get work done with it. But nothing can prepare you for what we will be able to do with 5G. Because all of a sudden, things that take minutes today will take seconds. Things that take, multiple minutes will take just a minute. And it's going to make a difference because it's going to enable everything to be connected. And you're going to say, why would we want that? Well, that's definitely a debatable question. But if you think about it, right now it's pretty expensive to put a cellular radio in a device. But because of the fact that 5G uses more different types of spectrum, so you've got the standard radio wave, but you also have millimeter wave, which is like 25 to 100 gigahertz. It means you'll be able to make tiny, tiny radios with tiny, tiny antennas in tiny, tiny devices that are super power efficient. That means that anything in your home, anything around you, can be adapted to be connected to the network really easily. So that's a big deal. And right now, we have limitation of how many devices you can put on the network. So that's going to help. So where are we going to see 5G? Everywhere. Phones, laptops, tablets, smartwatches, smart glasses, IoT, in your car, everywhere, in your home. You'll see it'll permeate everything. So it'll enable a whole bunch of new technologies. Mesh networking will be much more prevalent. You won't necessarily always have to have a base station to get connected. Basically, in one word, that's it. That's basically what we're going to. And that's, I think, very exciting. Now, another big trend is AR. And it seems kind of pie in the sky right now. Like, why would we need this? Well, think about it. If you have a touchless UI, if you're talking to the computer, sometimes you need feedback that's visual. You can't always have verbal voice feedback. So that's where AR comes in. One day we'll have devices that look like my glasses that have 5G and, some connectivity and some processing power, and AI in the cloud will drive it, and we will be able to, talk to it. Now, it doesn't mean our phones are going to disappear, or our tablets, or our laptops. Look, laptops are still used. I'd rather write one of my stories for my journalism on a laptop. It's a better experience for me than dictating it to Google. But at the same time, there are times when my hands are not free, when I want to be able to connect with, somebody or something, and that's where AR is going to shine. So, what does AR mean? It means blending of physical and digital worlds, right? It also means things like smart glasses, but it also means VR, because VR is just a subset of AR. If you cover my glasses like that, cover them, you now have VR, and that's a big deal, because an AR device can become a VR device just by covering your face. So that's, I think, why it's going to be a big trend. The next one is electrification. I've got the Rimac car up here because Croatia, and you guys are doing some pretty crazy electrification work. I don't think anybody in this room understands the tidal wave that's coming our way in terms of electrification. This is going to radically change the way we use vehicles, and it's going to come really fast. So be ready, go check out the Nissan Leaf later, because it is the future whether you like it or not. 10 years from now, petrol cars will no longer be made. I'm absolutely certain of this. It doesn't make sense. So you're going to say, why? Well, the reasons are numerous, but I think the biggest reason is less hardware, more software. That's what electrification allows. It makes you create vehicles that are completely customizable, that are no longer limited to a certain shape and size. You can do things like electric trucks for shipping goods across Europe. You can do things like electric airplanes. Yes, Airbus is actually working on a commuter jet. Well, it's not a jet, because it's going to have propellers that are going to be driven by electric motors with batteries in the wings. Because when you get to the gate, they'll plug it in for 45 minutes, and you'll fly again for another hour from, Munich to Zagreb, back and forth all day. And that is going to be much more efficient, at least on short routes, than, engines with fuel. So we're going to see the innovations come up. We're going to see things like solar charging, batteries at home, you being able to supply energy to your neighbor when they run out, and they do the same when you run out. And, there's no more centralization of electricity at that point. And that's why I think electrification just goes beyond vehicles. It goes, goes in the grid, it goes in everything we do. And so I think right now, Tesla is really leading the way. They're making a truck, they're making some cars, they're, they're working on solar panels for the roof of their houses, they're looking at, batteries. These things exist. You can buy a solar panel from Tesla today, you can buy a battery pack from them, you can buy a car from them. So I think it's going to be very important. And I really encourage companies out there that are in the transportation business to just make that their primary thing. The next thing, the kind of the final thing, is blockchain. And you're going to say, what are you talking about? Are you talking about Bitcoin? No, I'm not talking about Bitcoin because I don't think Bitcoin was a good use of blockchain. But I think that money could use blockchain in a better way. And more importantly, I think that blockchain can be used to do one thing that's really important in this future we're having coming. And that's decentralization, distribution. Having things distributed instead of centralized is really critical. Imagine you did this with titles. I don't know if you know what a title is, but it's that piece of paper you get when you buy a car that says, I own this car. It's that piece of paper you get that says, I own this house. Imagine that there wasn't a central repository of this, but it was kept in a ledger through blockchain in a secure way that can't be altered, that shows the history of ownership. Imagine me as a journalist, the moment I write a story and I publish it, I sign it with blockchain, and it is now my story. People can copy it, they can alter it, but it still shows on the ledger that I created this story. So this is really critical stuff. And what it means is that when you go to Airbnb right now, you start their app, or you go to Uber, you start their app, you're dealing with a centralized system. Uber as a company owns the data. Now with blockchain, we can decentralize that. You can, without an intermediary, decide to rent out your car to someone else and get paid and keep track of it, right? And you can do things like that that are not really possible without decentralization. So I think that's why blockchain is going to make a huge difference. All right, so I promised you a little more than just pie-in-the-sky trends and technology. How do you apply this technology? I'm going to give you some examples. These examples, I'll let you guess for yourself, in most cases, what the technologies are. But there are also some technologies I'm going to throw in there that are kind of like trends past the first 5. So let's have a look. The first one is on the personal level. What can we expect? This is a patent for a folding phone that Samsung may or may not release in the next year or two. Some people want some small form factor that they can expand for more productivity. This is what they're working on. Imagine devices like this with 5G that are constantly connected no matter where you go, have incredible battery life, and still let you use the device the way you're used to, with all the ecosystem you're used to. That's one of the things we're going to see. We're going to see things like laptops that are super thin, super light, always connected, all-day battery life, leave your charger at home, and that's going to be common. We're just going to take it for granted. We're going to see some smart glasses. AR smart glasses that are really small. Most of this is going to be possible, mostly thanks to 5G. When I was at CES, I saw something really interesting. L'Oreal, the company that makes cosmetics, made a tiny little thing that you could glue to your fingernail, glue to your clothes. It's a removable glue, it's just a sticker. It's a tiny little teardrop ladybug type device. And it measures UV light, so you know how long you've been in the sun. So you know you've been in the sun too long, you should go inside or you should put lotion on. And this product is really cool because it actually, is so small and pretty much disposable. You put it on, when it runs out of battery in a few days, you get rid of it, you put another one on. And so this, imagine 5G added to this device, and you can now have a whole bunch of these wearable things that are not necessarily very expensive or very complicated, but that you can just put anywhere and do some meaningful work for you. So that's kind of where we're going on the personal level with these devices. At home, of course, there's a real big revolution happening. And this is the other tidal wave that you should prepare yourself for and prepare your families for. It's the microphone, camera, speaker, and display everywhere thing. You're gonna have very soon, and this is happening in the US now, today. Within a year, it just radically changed. It just tipped over like the first domino of a series of dominoes. And it is the Alexa and Google Assistant speakers. They're everywhere, they're cheap, they're a commodity, they make your life better. People are buying them by the millions. They're in every home, at least middle-class home. They're $30 each now, and they make your life infinitely better. Now add a camera to them with machine learning on your face, and you can now do some really, really deep authentication. You know exactly who is in the room, what they're doing, and you can help them. And more importantly, you can protect their privacy and their data when someone else is in the room. This is really critical. So we're going to see a proliferation of these, and it's going to become completely second nature to us in the next 2 to 5 years. And we'll interact with them, and it will change the game for everyone. And again, this is about this touchless UI being everywhere, in everything we touch, cars, home, office, everything. We're going to see things like millimeter wave routers. You know, your Wi-Fi router in the home right now, there's a lot of dead spots, it's always tricky. Millimeter wave now enables much better mesh networking. It's basically 5G technology adapted to Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi AD is a standard, it's coming. And I think it's going to improve quality of coverage in our homes. And you know, this is a short-term side effect of some of these technological trends. We're going to see smarter and cheaper and more useful robots. You know, the Roomba that vacuums your house, not so great, right? But we can now make them better and cheaper and actually more purposeful, and it's starting to happen. I know some people who were early on the Roomba, didn't really like it, and now they're on their second or third generation product, and it's actually quite good. So it's starting to change, and we're going to see that. And of course, any device can have a speaker and microphone and camera on it, and be part of this little ecosystem of connected intelligence. What else? I saw some interesting things at CES. This is a photo of a little robot that follows you around the house if you want it to follow you around the house, and it projects whatever you're watching right now. YouTube video, Netflix, and it's smart. It analyzes, it has depth sensing, it can see the walls, it knows where to project, and it like automatically like does the keystone adjustment so things look flat and perfectly fine. And you know, you can be walking around your house and maybe vacuuming while watching Netflix, and this guy knows what to do and projects the image. It's cool. But that wouldn't be possible without AI, it wouldn't be possible without voice interface and all these things we talked about. The other one is a smoke detector I saw at CES. And you know, there's existing smoke detectors that are like smart, like Nest has one, but it's just a one device, one purpose device. So if you have money and you're remodeling your house, you might buy a Nest smoke detector in every room. Now you have a connected smoke detector. You have to understand, in countries like the US, it's the law. You have to have a smoke detector in every room and in your house. Now, you can buy $25 ones, or you can buy $200 ones. So this company made a smart smoke detector that also has Alexa in it, a speaker and a microphone. And it has, and this was, until then I was like, okay, gimmicky, we've got Alexa in it. It has a mesh router in it. Now, every room in your house has perfect Wi-Fi, and every room in the house has an assistant and a smoke detector. And because, as I said, modern home in the US, it's the law to have a smoke detector, they have battery backup power. So this is always on. So when your power goes out, you still have internet. It's kind of cool. It made me go like, okay, this is an interesting convergence of these trends. I'm going back in time. That's not what we want. Here we go, transportation. So I made a purpose effort to pick this slide. I picked this slide because it's the inside of the Model 3, the very controversial car from Tesla. I ordered one, it's coming. This car doesn't have any physical controls. It only has two little sliding knobs on the steering wheel, a little lever for blinker on the side, another lever for autopilot on the other side. Everything else is on the screen. You know, things like opening the glove box, whatever, it's all on the screen. And it seems kind of, why? It seems annoying because we're not used to it. But there's a big reason why Tesla did this. Again, Less hardware, more software. Your car sits around all the time. It's not being used when you're at the office, it's in a parking garage. Why not rent it out to people who need it? Car sharing. So if you have a car that's completely software driven and you want to do car sharing, if I have a Model 3 sitting in San Francisco and I'm here in Zagreb and I want to drive around to go to the coast, I can just find someone that has a Model 3 with the Tesla app and borrow it from them, pay them money for it, while someone does the same in San Francisco with my Model 3. And the moment I approach the car with the phone, all my settings, my seat position, my steering wheel position, my mirrors, my preferred radio stations, everything is automatically set. And if the user doesn't want me to access the front trunk or the back trunk, they can lock it, because the only way to open them is by software. This is a huge change. It's going to allow us to share our vehicles, and eventually we won't want to own them anymore. So, the other thing we're going to see happening is, because of that, parking is going to be less of an issue. We won't park our cars, they're going to always be driving around dropping people off. The other thing that's going to happen is, as I said, buses, trucks, airplanes are going to get electrified. We're going to see Hyperloop, which is going to be an interesting way to get from point A to point B. That's an alternative to airplanes. And then finally, private space exploration. Right now, the only thing happening in space is private, meaning funded by private companies. And, you know, space took a dive. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted my flying car, but by 2018, we were on Mars, we were on the moon, we were surveying Jupiter in person. That never happened because governments ran out of money and people ran out of interest. Having space privatized means we're going to make it happen. We're going to be in Mars 5-10 years from now. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But last time we went in space and put a lot of energy and time and money into it, we got all this technology that came back to us from it. So it's going to make a difference. Finally, not really finally, but commerce is another thing I think is going to change a lot. And that's going to do, like this is a hamburger that actually is meat, but it's not meat. It's called the Impossible Burger. It's actually grown in a lab from cells. It's not from an animal, but it's meat. But it's not meat. I don't know how to explain it. So the point is that this is one of the revolutions that's going to be possible. The reason we're able to do this is because AI can crunch through, you know, cell growth and understand how this is possible and give us ways to do it. But more importantly, in terms of commerce, oh, hello there. In terms of commerce, the only other thing that I think really matters is Amazon just opened a store in Seattle where you just walk in, you pick up the object you want, and you walk out. And it charges you automatically. How does it do that? Remember all those cameras and microphones I talked to you about? It's able to authenticate you as you shop, recognize who you are from your voice and from the cameras, and automatically charge you when you walk out. It sounds scary, but it's not. If you think about it, this is going to make your life much better. I don't like ordering my food online and having it delivered. I like to touch it. I want to see how ripe the avocados are, right? But I don't want to wait in line. I don't want to deal with a cashier. This is what we're going to see happening because of these trends. And then, another thing in terms of commerce is the blockchain is going to change how we do commerce, because we're not going to have to pay through a bank anymore. We're just going to pay directly one another like we do with cash. But we'll be able to keep track of it, which is much nicer. And then this last slide, I guess I went too far ahead on myself there, but the point I was trying to make is that, the sharing economy is going to get changed significantly because of these technologies. Right now, it's kind of not working so well, and I think it could be improved a lot. We're also going to see much cheaper, better 3D printers that are basically anybody's going to be able to manufacture in small scale very cheaply and very quickly. And then, we're going to see things like, remote diagnostic in healthcare. Like, on Star Trek, they have the tricorder. They scan you, and you're like, oh, you have like a bladder infection. Okay, let's fix that. You'll be able to do that at home with your smartphone because of the sensors. So the reason I brought this slide up, just to wrap things up real quick, is this is Juicero. Do you guys know what Juicero is? Anybody in the audience have any idea what Juicero is? We have one guy there. Okay. Juicero is the most ridiculous and biggest failure in tech in 2017. It is a device that you pay $400 for, that you put this little bag of juice in, and it squeezes it for you. I'm not shitting you. It squeezes the bag. That's their business model. So the reason I put it up there is because we have a lot of challenges of not being idiots at making this technology happen. And the challenges are around society and culture. These tidal waves that are coming with electrification and with the speaker in your house that you interact with, you're not going to be able to avoid them. But what can we do as tech people to make it easier for other people to understand that this isn't a bad thing and it's going to make their lives better? We need to be able to teach and educate and change culture and society for them to be ready for this. More importantly, our laws, our governments, our institutions are not ready for any of this. How do you deal with a disagreement when the blockchain is involved? We don't have any laws in place for that. So we need to work to make that possible. You know, and the security and privacy implications are super important. I want you to know that personally, I think that's the biggest challenge we have going forward with these technologies. They're going to happen no matter what, but can we do it with security and privacy kept safe? That is the question. If you're an entrepreneur, creator, a founder, think about what you can do when you create your product to safeguard privacy and security. And finally, voila, and have a kitten, because you've been listening to me rant for 20 minutes, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions? Can we bring up the last slide, please? Can we bring up, okay. Please leave this up for a minute while Ivan talks. If you want to scan this barcode, you'll get to this presentation, so you can download it and share it. You'll also get to the 360 video I've been recording, which I'll be putting on that folder. It's a Google Drive folder. You can also reach me this way and check out my podcast, mobiletechpodcast.com. Thanks so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Stiger, dajte molim vas jedan veliki aplauz. Ako imate bilo kakva pitanja, sad je trenutak u biti, Stiger. Ako imate bilo kakva pitanja, slobodno razmislite. Ako želite postaviti, imamo vremena za 2 pitanja. Myriam se raspričala. Thank you for this Black Mirror episode. It was fantastic. I'm really scared.
You're welcome.
Ustra sam se živ. Uglavnom, no, I really shouldn't have been. I'm excited. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is going on? So first, the Amazon store that you can just take things and go out. This is the Balkans. Like we can break any system. Like,
oh, I'm sure.
Like the latest thing that we broke is democracy. So Amazon will go bankrupt in like 5 minutes. Like
it's not,
I can go there, take shit, and not pay. Fuck you, Amazon.
It's not bulletproof yet. In fact, it's the first store. They just opened it a week ago, and it's going well. I mean, there are, you know, they have anti-theft systems in place.
Yeah, we have anti-theft in Croatia also, but like, look at the politics.
You know, well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, you know, that they're using these technologies that I talked about, of you know, basically machine learning to recognize who you are and how to charge you. You know, of course, this is the thing, like Amazon has a huge database of voice audio from each person that uses Alexa, right? So the more you talk to Alexa, the more they can authenticate you accurately. And so they have all this stuff sitting around in their databases. And so now they can apply this to a store, which I think is really, really interesting.
And scary. Any questions? Ima neko neka pitanja možda za Myriam?
I thought we were going to
They're really scared of you. It's okay. This is Croatia. Like, any questions? No, I know everything.
Are we getting some Twitter questions from anyone?
Any Twitter? Do we go? No.
I just scared them all.
Well, no, it's okay. We're going to have a break later on, so you can ask Myriam anything you want in private. Molim vas jedan aplauz za Myriam. Stvarno, it was a great keynote speech.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Da, fantastične stvari dolaze, tako da za jedno 20 godina super će nam biti u Hrvatskoj. Za godinu dana u Sloveniji, 20 kod nas. Stvarno izvrsno predavanje, ja mislim da kad ovako Amerikanac priča američkan, da onda vi kao, ma neću ja pričat, sad kad ja krenem na svoji kao, do you ever notice? Tako da nemoj, opustite se, šta vas briga, ovo je Bug Future Show.